There's a Letterboxd review that's just like, I just want someone to bring me Keanu home from the farmer's market. When's that going to happen for me?
Well, when you're a multimillionaire and can afford to have an at-home doctor's call.
He already had flowers and like a funny bit with the flowers ready to go. He's just like, just a dream boy.
Do you think he was thinking about that the whole ride there, or he just was already in there?
Yeah, it definitely had like a rehearsed kind of aspect to it, but it was still like smooth enough that you get a pass. I think when you look like that, you get a pass too.
You can just say whatever you want.
And you're a doctor.
And you're a doctor, and you're
ideal aged doctor,
like 17, 18 years younger than the person that you're wooing. Anyway, I guess let's get started.
Do you have like a good like phrase for Romcom Month, like Romcom Nom Nom, like something like that?
Romcom Nom Nom is actually what I have written here. Believe it or not.
Wait, literally?
No.
Oh. Does it say gullible too? Because
yeah, I was just gonna go with Romcom Month.
Yeah, I was gonna say
just
lame.
3 syllables.
Where you're rom-com rads, but I don't know if I can do anything with that.
Yeah.
Rom-com.
this is up to Robbie. Robbie's always the one who comes up with the puns.
Well, think about it.
We'll come back at the end. We'll see if I
think about it.
I'll circle back.
As you guys know, I don't know how to start, so it'll either be just like kicking around pun ideas or welcome to Late to the Movies. I'm Ben Holton. This is a podcast where my friends and I get to fill in our movie blind spots. Every week we'll pick a movie that either I or a guest hasn't seen before, but really should have by now. This week, we're kicking off Romcom Month. All February long, we'll be watching rom-coms, and I think all specifically movies that I personally haven't seen before. When we're starting with one of those, it's 2003's Something's Gotta Give. Here with me is 2 returners to the podcast. We got Robbie.
Hey.
And Cory.
I'm back. The sickness cannot keep me away.
That's right. Just as you know, Cory's had a huge frequency of episodes, and then in the last month he's been battling something. Maybe you've heard of it. He keeps trying to have sex and then having to go to the hospital, and that's a thing that happens in the movie. Geez, yeah. You both looked at me like it's not a reference to the movie we're talking about.
I was like, nobody's having sex with me.
Anything like that happened in my life.
It's like, okay, all right.
I don't leave the house.
Am I supposed to watch this movie?
Yeah, it's okay. So I haven't seen this before. Robbie, have you seen this before?
I have not seen this before.
For once, I have seen this movie before,
man.
And Ben has not.
Huh.
That's true.
Is there a particular I don't want to why have you seen this before? Do you know,
I honestly have no idea.
It just
I just happened to like it was probably on TV when I was like at my parents' house.
Something like that.
I just watched it.
Gotcha. I was expecting like girlfriend or some
that could be also a
reason, but I can't think of a girl our age that is like you have to go. Oh, okay. It was 2003. It was 2003.
That was prime like high school girlfriend go to the theater, middle school, high school.
Right.
That was the only place
this
to go.
This movie opened at number 1, so it was a lot of people went to see it. So
that was probably it.
Okay, so we'll get into it deeper, but it's been a little while since you've been on, so I'm curious. Have you been watching anything during your quarantine? Did you watch anything good?
I don't think I watched anything.
Nice.
Not even shows. Like
it's just been Warzone.
Yeah, it's just been Warzone. I don't know why. Warzone and YouTube videos, mostly about Warzone. I don't know what happened. The game sucks, but you can't stop.
Gotta get back in the
It's kind of like cocaine, or like crack.
Yeah.
It sucks, but you can't stop.
Just gotta keep going for it.
Yeah. So similar answer, same different flavor, but same ballpark for you.
Yeah, binge watching the same things, but I did recently start watching New Girl, and
oh, excellent,
top-notch sitcom, just top-notch sitcom, probably the funniest show I've ever seen.
Excited to have another person in the group that we can like reference New Girl to, because that show has so many funny jokes in it.
I don't know why I haven't seen screenshots. I haven't seen memes. Like, there's no jokes that people bring up from the show. And I've almost made a couple myself where I'm like, okay, I need to screen. It's just so much. It's a lot of work, but
yeah.
That's probably why I don't see more of it.
I don't know why I'm not memeing as a full-time job right now.
There's a bunch of Nick Millers out there watching the show like, this is good. Somebody should do something about this.
Yeah.
It's not going to be me.
Yeah, no, I love New Girl. Have for a while, and it's a good time to jump in. It's all on Netflix. The whole thing's done, so you can just,
I have watched a few episodes of something. It's Always Sunny.
There you go.
Oh, yep. I saw the new ones too.
I only
new
saw
season
the first
stuff?
4. Yeah, the new season stuff.
It's interesting.
Their podcast is great too.
I haven't checked out the podcast.
Shout out. It's
I have
Always Sunny
heard that. I've heard
podcast.
that. I've heard that. That's good. I've only watched sporadically Always Sunny, just never something I've gotten into. Not because of any particular reason. There's just a lot of things to watch, and usually I'll just watch.
There's only 14 seasons.
Yeah, you're right. It's only the longest running live action sitcom of all time.
That's their problem is they've reached that status where it's like 14 seasons and now telling somebody to watch it is just like, if you have time.
I haven't
least
like
with that, you
watched
can kinda,
through
like-
all of it.
You can kind of jump in, right, and get
You-
the general idea wherever.
You don't
Yeah,
need
you don't
to
need
watch
the-
an order at all.
Honestly, if you started with season 1, you'd probably be confused because you're like, where the fuck is Danny DeVito? He doesn't come in until season 2.
Yeah.
And he's like integral to that show.
Yeah. So just because we've recorded a lot of episodes in a row, I've already gone over what I've been watching. Even though it was only last week, I think this would be the third episode in a row where most recently I watched all the Scream movies. Like I said in the other episodes, they're all good. You should watch them. The new ones in theaters, I understand if people don't want to go see it because of, Omicron, but
You think all the Scream movies are good.
yep.
So like even that's impressive
Yep.
for like it started in the 80s, right? It's like one of those slasher films.
1996.
96. Okay.
96,
Okay.
96.
And 2 and 3 hold up. That's interesting because you just recently watched them.
And
Maybe I'll
4.
check them out. Maybe we'll
There's
check
4, right?
4 and now 5.
Yeah.
Oh, 5 is the new one. I thought
5's
4
the
was
one in
new
theaters. So the first 3 are basically a trilogy between late 90s to around 2000.
Okay.
I think the third one's 2000. And then 11 years later, in 2011, Scream 4. And then 11 years later, 2022, now is Scream 5.
Oh, that's gross. I don't like that math that it works like that.
Yeah, that there's 3 in like 2.5 years, and then an 11-year jump, and then another 11-year jump.
Another 11-year jump. That's the one that made me
So
feel
11 more
uncomfortable.
years, we'll get Scream 6.
For sure. So let's get into it. So do you want to do a plot recap? It has to be a new person, so it's either me or you.
Oh, Ben. I mean, come on.
All right. I have to. Oh man, I have to watch the clock and do it at the same time.
I can
Fine.
time you. I can time you.
All right, cool.
Hold on. I'll
We do
give
have
you the.
phones.
We do have phone.
We can help you out there.
It is possible. It can be done.
2022.
All right. You ready?
Yeah, I've always put other people on the spot, so this is maybe some comeuppance coming, but I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
So Jack Nicholson is dating Amanda Peet. There's like a 30-year age difference. She takes him to her mother's Hamptons home for the weekend. Of course, the mother, played by Diane Keaton, walks in on them sort of having like a sexy tour of the house and is like, oh man, that guy's old. Then Frances McDormand, Academy Award winner, is also there. And she's like, we should all hang out because it's funny. I'm a college professor. This will be a really funny thing to happen. So they do that. Eventually, it's pretty clear that Amanda Peet and Jack Nicholson aren't going to work out. So she's like, I'm going to break up with him. Diane Keaton, you should date him. At the same time, his doctor is Keanu Reeves. Oh, cool. And basically, they swap. And then there's a love triangle with Keaton, Nicholson, and Keanu Reeves. Then Jack Nicholson decides that he can't be monogamous. Then he decides that's a terrible idea. Takes like 6 months to revisit every person he's ever dated. And then ends up in Paris with Diane Keaton.
Done. There you go.
Pretty much that's it. Keanu Reeves is there too, but then Keanu Reeves is just like, yeah, you guys got a thing going on. I'll get out of your way. Movie over.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the worst thing about the movie. Like, you got to start with the cons.
Okay.
Keanu takes an L.
No.
Yeah, he does. He takes a huge L.
Keanu not succeeding was like, oh, that's kind of sad.
A lot of people take L's like pretty gracefully in this movie, which I think is a refreshing thing. Like I said, we're kicking off Romcom Month with this, and we'll be talking about formula stuff, but everyone handles breakups and drama that normally in rom-coms it'd be like a big dramatic thing. Everyone's kind of just like, oh, we're not good to, like, you guys go date instead.
Except for Diane Keaton, which is why she's the villain in this movie.
Ooh, interesting.
That's my hot take.
That's a tough call, but we'll get into it, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, that sequence where she's sobbing and
Yeah, I have notes on that
hysterical.
sequence, actually.
I have
So
also
good.
notes on that sequence. Like
I
I've
loved it, so
seen
we'll have a fun
death
time.
scenes with drier eyes. Like Jesus, Diane.
So funny. So let's overall, what was everyone's impression of this movie? Obviously, second or however many time for you, first time for me, first time for you.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great movie. I had a lot of fun watching it, and I was kind of like, when it started I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. I think like the initial intro, I was very like, ugh, this is super tired, you know? And it didn't come across that way. It was pretty fresh. It was pretty entertaining the entire time, I feel like.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. The beginning kind of like feels like, oh, this is like not that interesting. It's, you know, pretty standard stuff happening. But then as it progresses, you kind of get a little more sucked in, and then you're like, all right, I'm invested in this love triangle. And, you know, Jack Nicholson, he's just he's a suave guy.
Does he play again? No, he's Henry in this, right?
Henry, yeah.
Henry.
Harry?
Okay. Harry.
Harry. Oh, yeah. Harry 13.
He's Harry, the character in the plays Henry, or vice versa.
Okay, something like that.
He's Harry.
His
man.
username was Harry 13, right?
37.
37.
Which is just like, so in
me
the
and Robbie,
movie,
we can't remember anything. Ben's just correcting us.
in the movie, his character's 63, but his screen name is Jack Nicholson's actual birth year, which is he's 66 in the movie.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh.
So it's 2003, and his username is Harry 37. And if he had been born in 1937, he'd be 66. But his character's 63, or lying about his age really badly since his year's in his username.
Gotcha. I don't think he was ever trying to lie about it.
No, I don't think so either. So
He
it's just like a
doesn't
funny
care.
thing. Like, it could have just been 40. Like, I don't know why it had to be 30. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I was trying to figure out the numbers in the name too. They didn't seem to matter to it because, like, what was her screen name numbers? Do you?
I don't remember.
It didn't seem to be as relevant. And like, I don't know. I know from making my own screen names, like, don't put too much thought into the fucking numbers. Sometimes it's
for
like
sure.
you just type in 2 letters and they have to
Yeah.
be
I'd be
37.
like, I like the number 3 and I like the number 7. I'll
Or
be
he just
Harry
had,
37.
yeah, 5643 is my thing. It means
Harry
nothing.
whatever.
Oh,
and it
yeah,
was
huh?
like, oh, that username's not available, but you can be Harry 37.
Exactly. Yeah, that's I've been Robbie 5643 my whole life, and it's just like 56 and then backwards 43. I think that pattern's cool. But
Yeah.
That's the reasoning behind all of your 5643 usernames?
yeah, for the last like 30 years.
I don't know why I've never
I hope
asked
that's
you
not also
why.
all your pins.
Nope.
Okay, good.
Absolutely is not. It's just a really fun pattern I liked when I was typing out my username. Like
We
one
all
time.
know his RuneScape password now, though,
Yeah.
because he accidentally types it into the Discord chat
frequently.
daily.
If, as you can see, it's the 2 screens, so I go to log in, but I'm still clicked on your.
Yeah. There you go. So this movie starts with a Jack Nicholson kind of skeevily monologuing over Butterfly by Crazy Town. And I was just like, yeah, let's go. This is not exactly what I thought this movie was going to start with, but I'm ready for this. So I'm
I put it on, and then like I was going to grab my bowl of cereal and stuff, and that song came on, and I was just like, oh hell yeah! I was just like
yeah.
grooving with it.
here we go.
It's like I love this song.
And he's like, something about young ladies. And you're like, oh, so he like steals youth from young women and he's like a vampire in this? And it's like, kind of.
It's definitely a very weird way to start it because I feel like
So-
they gave his character like you're just supposed to hate him for only the reason that he dates young women, but it doesn't seem like he's tricking the young women.
I
It
don't
seems
think
like
you're
he's
supposed to hate him. I think
No.
he's just kind of like,
well,
you're
he's
supposed to be
very
like, you know what,
transparent.
fuck this guy.
Well,
This
I
guy's kind of a loser.
I guess I don't know what like normally I feel like there's an element of like sliminess or trickery, but with this character it just felt like, hey, I don't want a commitment, and young women seem to be fine with that, and I don't want anything deep, and I'm very upfront about it. I'm like, I don't know, you do you, man. It's not the best way to live life, but like it seems to be a completely honest way to live your life. I don't know.
Yeah, and his
yeah.
girlfriend at the time in the car was literally like he was talking about, like, oh yeah, my mom, and then he was like, oh, you know, your mom, and she was just like, yeah, she's too old for you, and like he was just like totally like normal about
It's
it.
like,
and so
yeah,
was she.
probably. If she's not under 30, I'm not.
Everybody knows his deal. He knows his deal, and he's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
He's
take it or leave it.
he's so famously single that he has had a New York Magazine article written about him.
Yes.
So yeah, I just love that it starts with that. And yeah, you immediately it starts with him and Amanda Peet, who I believe is playing like late 20s, but she's about 31 when this movie comes out.
Okay.
But Jack is 66, I believe. So that's
It is quite a age gap. It is quite a
That's
age
double.
gap. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna say it's not gross. It's just I'm not attracted to it.
Sizable.
They're clearly, she's clearly attracted to him for whatever reason. And this clearly happens in real life for whatever reason.
I think it's kind of like a mirror. Like they both are like, oh, this will be something that is not serious and it'll just maybe be fun for a while. And that's how they both feel about it.
Yep.
And they both sort of come around to understanding maybe I want more in life. Even though Amanda Peet isn't, the main character as the movie goes on, that's still sort of the arc that she's on at the same time.
She definitely has like a main character plot. You just don't get to see it. It is kind of interesting to see it come back up at the end of like, oh, you were doing your whole growth thing. It's good for you.
Yeah, so she also grows. But at the beginning, it's just for both of them, they both know like what they're getting out of it. And they're like, okay, this is going to be easy.
Yeah.
This is not going to be difficult.
Yeah, no, I guess I just don't like that whole mindset they had back in the day where somebody would even write an article about it where it's like, what business is it of yours? Like this person's just like, I don't know.
It's New York Magazine.
It's fine.
Like with the age gap thing?
Yeah, I mean, we still
it's
do
not
it with
like
Leo
she was
today,
like
I guess.
Freshly 18 and he was like 60. It was like, it's a person who's like matured enough where they like have the recognition of.
I'm glad you said that. That might be what's doing it for me is like she was 31. So if they had presented me with actually like a 22-year-old in this movie, I might feel a lot differently about him. Like if it was that big of a, and I think that's more what they were trying to imply is what he did. Not that he was dating 31-year-olds or 29 or 28-year-olds.
And let's get into some of the characters here. So Jack Nicholson, Diane Keaton are the main people. Jack Nicholson's playing kind of himself, kind of Warren Beatty. And he's this movie's deranged. We should just say that up front. In a good way. I really liked this movie, but this movie's weird as hell.
Oh, absolutely.
Weird as hell. In again, a good way. I like how strange it is, but
I keep forgetting you haven't seen this before.
No.
Oh, right.
So I knew coming into it the triangle part of it and the general form. Right, yeah. I knew the general form of he's dating her daughter, then they get together or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Jack Nicholson's doing his Jack Nicholson thing. It's funny for you because we just watched The Shining.
Yes. Yes, he definitely said something to, it wasn't Here's Johnny. It was something, it wasn't Makes Jack a dull boy. I think he says all work and no play in it or something along those lines. And it was very like uncomfortable for a second.
Yeah, but him, especially the big middle part of it, most of the first hour where he's in the house with Diane Keaton, and you just expect at one point he's going to be chasing her up the stairs saying like, I'm just going to bash your brains in a little bit. But he can't go upstairs. That's the whole thing.
No.
So he can't do that. We got Jack, Diane Keaton, Keanu Reeves as definitely like the 1B tier. And it's a Nancy Meyers movie. So those are really the big people to talk about in this. And anyone you want to jump in on?
Well, it's funny we say Jack Nicholson's crazy in this movie because Keanu's a little weird in this movie too. And I have a quote, I knew you'd smell good after randomly kissing her neck in a restaurant. I think that takes the cake for weirdest thing somebody does in the movie.
You think so?
Maybe.
I don't know. It seemed to work.
It did work for some reason, but it was real weird.
Think about that progression. They've met 2-3 times just as the doctor for this older man that stays in her house.
Yep.
And then he's attracted to her. Is like, hey, let's get dinner. They get dinner, and the first thing he does is like, hey, you smell good, and kiss her on like the side of the neck. It's like that's pretty forward.
Not just you smell good. I knew you'd smell good.
Yeah.
Like you've been thinking about this. Like I don't know.
I've been thinking about your scent.
I don't know. It works on her. It's just like he's like old lady.
I don't know
like
if that would have
knowing
worked.
if they smell good.
I was gonna say it's scripted to work on her. Of course it did.
I want to say that I really liked Jack Nicholson in this movie.
I did too. I
think his facial expressions and like reactions to things were really I felt like it was really on point. Like I felt the emotion from his reactions.
There was a lot of points in the movie where Erica, is that her?
Yeah,
Erica was just going off on him. And you could tell like he had a lot to say, but he was just like needing time to process. And then she'd just be gone. And I'm just like, yeah, I'd be exactly like Jack Nicholson's character where he's just like, and she's just like, well, I guess you don't care then. And it's like, I haven't even said anything.
His facial expressions are just so good. Like you just see him, he's like,
Like,
I mean, obviously nobody
Yeah.
can see what I'm doing right now, but
clearly someone
you
having an
understand
anxiety attack.
someone
that
distressed.
too. Yeah, I think the thing that Nicholson does in this is just convey really kind of a complex thing with what he's doing in these different scenes. Sort of deceptively complex, his performance, because you think he's all surface level, but it's even something that Marin, yeah, that's Jessica Biel's character. She says Amanda Pete's character. Wow, I mixed them up in my mind. Never mind. They have similar last names and are around the same age. Amanda Pete's character says to her mom after she spent like one night with Jack in the house, where he's just like catches you off guard with something like really deep and soulful all of a sudden. It's like, yeah, where does that come from? But every now and then he just like, there's something, and you're like, holy shit, how did you know that about me?
Well, and I think that's what I like so much about the character is everything he does is intentional. And you find out later in the movie, it's because he doesn't know that there's another way to be. Like, he's never experienced the love he actually gets to experience.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of perspective about what he's doing, how it affects other people. And he just, like you said, he's just like, well, this is just what I do.
Right.
This is kind of it.
And everyone knows it, like beforehand.
Yeah, and everyone knows it.
Everybody
Everyone knows my
it.
deal. No one's expecting more of me.
It's supposed to be a pretty upfront exchange, and I think what he finds out and what you find out when he goes and reconciles with the people during that 6 months is like he should have put a little more thought into like what they were looking for. But you know what? That's on them too. They should have also put more effort into communicating what they want.
Yeah. But he's definitely been thoughtless. He hasn't necessarily done anything. He hasn't like done anything illegal, but he's been very thoughtless.
Well, and yeah, because like the reaction from the people was mixed. He was saying like some of them didn't even want to talk to him, and other people were like, "Yeah, let's do this. Let's have a chat about what happened."
And people
Which,
said that
very generous of
he
those
helped
people.
them. Like there are multiple people that are like, I helped them like move on or like find what they really wanted in life. And
Well,
Closure.
and
He
I think
mentions
it's
closure,
easy from their perspective to be like, oh, and he did X, Y, and Z and didn't care and led me on. And from like to actually talk to him where he was like, no, I thought we were just all on the same page here. I don't know. I think it's an interesting just view of communication because it's on both people, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, I think Jack's really good in this movie. Here's a good time to mention. So I was kind of workshopping which movies we should target for this month. I was talking to my sister and my mom about it. And earlier today, I was like, oh, we're going to do Something's Gotta Give. And they both were like, Revulsion. They were like, I hate that movie.
Really?
I hate that movie. It's just awful. I was like, wait, hold on, really? Because I thought it kind of kicked ass. I thought it was pretty great.
Yeah.
And they both just like, yeah, man, they cannot get with the whole Jack Nicholson vibe in this movie.
Really? So do they not like that he ends up with her at the end? Do they think that like?
Well, I think some of it for a lot of people is like, okay, you're going to pick like 66-year-old Jack Nicholson over 2003 Keanu Reeves, who's a doctor and likes your plays. But
It's kind of supposed to be the point that she's just as bad as him. I don't know if anybody sees that. Maybe I'm like putting too much meaning into it, but like they don't have a ton in common either, other than he's like a fanboy over her plays. But when you look at the two of them interact, she treats him like he's her grandkid. They don't have that same kind of connection. And like, you can tell it's because he doesn't have the same kind of worldly experience that Jack does. He's no better for her than her daughter was for Jack.
right, yeah, as Jack says when she's going off to her first date with him, like just, it's easy.
Exactly.
It's just
But 03 Keanu.
right,
I mean,
yeah, that's
I don't
that's the
even
other
like
part.
men, and I would choose 03 Keanu over most of the people in that movie.
This is Keanu coming
saying.
off of the two Matrix sequels earlier in 2003 and like
I mean, it's the same comparison. We're talking about it's Jessica Biel and Diane Keaton. Like everyone would choose Jessica Biel, but he broke up with her even though she thought she was breaking up with him.
Amanda Pete, but same problem.
Whatever.
I was like, wait, where was
Same
she?
thing I did. It's like Jessica Biel keeps getting dragged into here and we need to leave her and her alone.
Unbelievable.
Exactly. Yeah, I think everything you guys are saying, I agree with. So Diane Keaton is awesome in this movie. I think she's really wonderful. She's
I both agree and disagree.
I think there's things she does in this movie that I don't know if other people can pull off.
I don't think she should be allowed to cry in movies.
Yes, dude, that's the first thing I thought of. I was
that's
like, oh
really
my
weird.
God.
That's one of my favorite sequences in this movie. So I'm
was
curious what you guys are
just mad
picking
the
up on.
entire time. I hated it.
I almost
hated everything
fast-forwarded.
about it.
Really?
Yeah, it was
It's
terrible.
so funny.
It was some of the worst crying I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
It didn't feel like comedic enough to be.
It didn't. She's going pretty big.
Yeah, but like I didn't find it that like I thought I was like, oh yeah, haha. But like after 2 or 3 cries, I was like, all right, it was so loud too, like compared to the other noises in the movie. So like the volume balancing throughout that scene, I
You
was
guys were
just
just
like,
all hung over when you were watching this? Or
no,
I just
No,
was.
I
I was
don't
like,
drink anymore.
I still have a
either.
headche. I still have a headache.
Just adults drinking
it was
root beer
enough where-
talking about a rom-com.
Yeah, that's what 30 looks like. I even took notes about, let's see, the crying for 10 scenes was loud and OD. It was literally my notes.
I thought that sequence was wonderful.
I
I'm
have
glad people will enjoy it.
Diane Keaton sucks at
That's good
crying.
for you.
It's uncomfortable and way, way, way too much. I've seen death scenes with less. Goddamn. But I guess if it was supposed to be over the top, then
Well, it's good to disagree about something.
It was clearly like it didn't even look like it was definitely not recorded live. Because her screams and cries did not match like her facial expression. Like it looked like it was pre-recorded or probably post-recorded and then added in there because it didn't look like a live recorded sound.
There was definitely parts of that where they were like, it was like a track. Because I think they played some of it.
ADR is a
like-
pretty normal tool in a lot of movies to add in stuff, but it's just like when you dub something in later.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. But no, I don't know. I think they just probably stretched it out for a little bit longer than I would have liked.
I thought it was really funny, but I guess I can see why you would think otherwise. But yeah, it's just so funny. Just the idea that she starts really dramatically crying on like outside a restaurant in New York, makes it back to the Hamptons. It's been like a few days and she's still like really dramatically crying.
She was crying for longer than she knew this guy. It was like a fucking week.
That's something else I have notes on is the time frames in this movie.
Well, yeah, the idea that she's still in love with Nicholson when they really only hung out for a week and she's been with Keanu for 6 months.
She's 6 months, but and then like even
They went
that
to
after that
Paris
first
together
week,
and you
she's
just
like,
leave him
"I
there?
love you," and he's like, "I don't know how to answer that." And it's like, you're lucky he's not like, "You're a crazy bitch," because it's been a week. You can't just do that.
Yep, I've experienced the same thing.
Yeah, I think they're. I
That's all
think
we need there.
that's all we need there. I just think there's, I don't know. There's a thing that is being expressed through Diane Keaton that is just like a little messy, but it's this person who thinks they know what they want. They were already married for 20 years, and she really feels like the door is closed on her and any romantic relationship. So she gets this guy who like seems to really get her in a way that she doesn't know anyone else who has.
Okay.
And she's just like, no, I could do this. This could work. And he just fundamentally is bad at it. He's bad at being in a relationship. And he can't think of a good way to say that to someone who was married for 20 years and is in their 50s like Diane Keaton is. And she's just like, what are you talking? You're not good at being a boyfriend? Are you kidding me?
Well, and that's kind of where I come from, where I'm saying like she is exactly like his mirror, because she's being incredibly thoughtless to him, because literally this man just had medical emergencies and is experiencing something he's admitted he didn't think was real or could ever be felt before, and is like, it's the closest I'd ever call something to love. And you know he's a serial bachelor. Give him a little bit of space, man. Like you're in your perspective, you're crying for days. Like you're not even stopping to think how this is affecting him whatsoever. It's literally the same exact thing. And that's why I think Diane Keaton is the villain in this movie. She literally causes him to have an anxiety attack and then writes a mean fucking play about him. I mean,
And then kills him.
I like that joke. That's pretty funny.
it was pretty
I like when they're in Paris at the end and she's like, oh yeah, you couldn't like have written it to end up like us all here at the same time. He's like, oh, if you were writing it, I'd be dead. And they all like
that
laugh
was
a
a good
little
one.
too hard.
It's just like, ha 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 ha. Keanu
Start
clenches a knife.
cheersing.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I mean, from the perspective of like, he really didn't tell her no. He literally sat there sputtering. Like you could see he was still processing. Like for all she knows, he had a lot more to say. She just already wrote the story in her head and she was like, this is how it's going to go. And this is how I'm going to write it.
And I think from her perspective too, not just like, I'm sure there's a little selfishness there, but also like, oh, you need some time to process this. Meanwhile, you're like you're out on a date with like another 20-year-old.
He told her it was already set up before they left. Again, it's only been a week.
I mean, it's a pretty...
And he's like, I'm trying to get my bearings. And she's like, well, I don't want bearings. Okay, you're being crazy.
But she said she already has her bearings.
She said she had them and she doesn't want them anymore. And it's like, well, that's a mistake because you should always want bearings. Like you had wrong bearings, but now you need new bearings.
Yeah.
Because your car won't work without them.
You can't just go running around without bearings, Diane. Doesn't work like that.
I think he should have went on a date with another girl like that week, even if it was pre like whatever. But
she gave him rocks to remember her by. I assumed they were going their separate ways and were never going to meet again.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it was if we still know each other. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that was I think, she saw her like waiting by her phone and stuff. So I think she was thinking like, and the first phone call she gets after he leaves, she answers with, "Oh, I know you would call." And that's how she gets pulled into the city with the ex-husband and the new fiance. Everyone just dating in weird age gaps.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, like intertwined
weird.
in a kind of way.
Well, it's funny. It's like everyone really is like, I don't know why I'm so mad at this guy, the ex-husband dating this. Even Amanda Pete's like, I don't know why I'm so mad about this. I'm almost 30. I shouldn't, but I just like, I'm so mad.
Ben, do you know what I realized why I'm having this view of the relationships? I just watched the New Girl seasons with her dad and Dee from It's Always Sunny and how like they're a perfect couple for each other. And I'm like, see, I misjudged age gaps and they're okay sometimes. I have no right to be putting my own opinions in here. That's why I'm so pro the age gap. It's less uncomfortable to me since I just watched that.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's like a lot of things being expressed through the movie about age gap stuff. Frances McDormand's character makes it explicit by saying, you know, if the genders were reversed, then you being unmarried at 63 would be like a tragedy. You'd be thought of as cursed. But since you're a guy, they write magazine articles about you.
Yes. Yes.
Which I thought was funny. So we haven't talked too much about Nancy Meyers yet. We did one Nancy Meyers kind of episode before because she wrote Father of the Bride with Charles Shire. Charles Shire directed it. Him and Nancy Meyers are married at that point. They divorce in 1999, and a few years later, she writes and directs this movie.
So this movie's really meta, huh? It's like even more meta than I thought it was.
Quite possibly. I don't know how they're. I think they were still on good terms, or not. Or at this point, I think they're still. I don't know.
In the movie, she wrote a play about this. Oh my god.
Yeah,
that's layered.
Yeah, right. It's layers upon layers.
Call this episode "The Onion."
Yeah, exactly. So this is her third directed movie. She's written a bunch of them before then. Like I said, we talked a lot about this in Father Bride, so we don't have to rehash, but she directs Parent Trap, What Women Want, and then Something's Gotta Give. Parent Trap is one of, this isn't me counting, this is just on Wikipedia, so grain of salt, one of only 36 movies on Disney Plus that are directed by a woman.
Wow.
Out of the several...
Disney.
Out of the several hundreds and hundreds of movies that are on Disney Plus.
36. It's amazing that it's a number somebody that can just casually count.
Yeah, I think it's over 500 movies, and there's 36 rated by female filmmakers. That's going back to the 1930s, but
I've actually seen that movie. Both.
Yeah, I think I saw Parent Trap in theaters in 1998.
I don't think I've seen the whole Parent Trap. Like, at least not enough to remember the whole thing.
Well, there's the original and the remake, right?
There's an original from like way back in the day, and then the 98 version's Lindsay Lohan.
Oh, I definitely haven't seen the Lindsay Lohan one. And there's like a little British girl, right?
It's Lindsay Lohan. One of them's British and one's American.
Okay.
But yeah, one of them's British, one's American, but they're both Lindsay Lohan.
Okay, never mind. I thought they were. Yeah,
Wait,
okay.
You mean there wasn't another actress?
So this is the second Nancy Meyers movie we've done, and the first one was Father of the Bride. I did that with Martha. That was, I think, only like the third episode recorded, but because of Halloween in October, I think it was like the sixth episode to actually get released. Whatever. Nancy Meyers has a lot of hallmarks, like rich, white, independent women who don't really have to work. No one in this movie really has to work. Everyone has the kind of these like very rich, high society-ish jobs, or just ambiguously like Jack owns a bunch of companies. They only really describe one of them. Kind of a lot of being sort of like fetishizing commodities and these sort of hallmarks of being rich. And I don't know if it's always fair, but that's a lot of things. It's people drinking wine in nice houses, sometimes on the beach in the Hamptons, white turtlenecks that Diane Keaton's wearing, a lot of whites, a lot of big kitchens. And it's kind of reductive. And there was some drama not too long ago about people just sort of rating her movies simply on like how big the kitchens are. But I don't know. I think there's a lot more going on in this movie, particularly with its kind of weird plotting and the naughtiness of the way the movie flows and the kind of subversions it does of romantic comedies that I don't really feel like that's diminishing the movie.
No, it's kind of interesting to think about too, because like there's definitely a portion of the population that relates well to those types of movies regardless. And then like, how real do you want movies to get? Like how much like your life do you want a movie to really be? Because I don't know if I could make a movie about my life that would be overly interesting that someone would want to watch. So there's definitely a balance in there somewhere that I think the criticism needs to be like.
Well, yeah, you consume media. Well, I consume media to experience something different from my everyday life, or else I wouldn't watch anything. I would just live
it.
Yeah, you just live. So that's sometimes what people say. Is this actually, are people actually connecting with this on an emotional level? Is it actually like, you know, art revealing some truth about the world and the people are in it or whatever? Or is this just sort of escapism and upwardly mobile, aspirational kind of nonsense? I don't think it's that. I think it's got more going on.
At least not this one. I mean, from what I can say of the one I've seen, I don't get that impression whatsoever.
I would agree. And yeah. What do you guys want to talk about?
Yeah. So the whole portion of, so once they kind of realize like, oh wait, I'd say probably the pancake scene.
Yeah.
That like something is going on.
Cool scene.
The what?
So I like that scene.
Yeah, I like that a lot too, just because like there's a lot of like hidden meaning in a lot of the stuff. So when he was just like, you don't want to eat pancakes anymore.
Yeah.
Like he didn't care about the pancakes.
No.
But they're just like talking about that, and the daughter's just like, whatever. Like this is weird. Like,
oh, God, old people. Wait a second.
and she keeps saying like, oh, you two can make the pancakes, but she clearly didn't give a shit about pancakes. Like the daughter, and they just like had that conversation with each other without saying anything but, you don't want to eat pancakes anymore. And I thought that was really cool. And then from there on, how like Jack Nicholson reacted to all of like the intimacy, and then like slowly realizing and experiencing things he never experienced before. I thought he did a really good job at that. Like even just like little things, he would just be like he just looked visibly like, I don't know about this.
Yeah. He's just so not even uncomfortable, but he just like does not know what to do. And he needs, it's a thing that like, we've probably known people like this that just build up the idea of being with like in an intimate monogamous relationship to just like this huge thing that he cannot process in his mind. Where for Diane Keaton, who was married for 20 years, is like, why is this hard for you? It shouldn't be hard.
Yeah.
And it's just like frustrated with him. But yeah, everything that Nicholson's doing to convey that, which I feel like is like pretty complicated acting. It's just so natural. I don't know how to put it, but he's really good.
I like it because it gives you the almost thought that like, you know, these people that you think of like, oh, look at this scumbag and blah, 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 blah. It almost makes you feel bad for him. Like the hidden moral of the story is if he hadn't happened on this random person, he would have lived his whole life and never actually experienced love because he was never open to finding love. Like he never could have found it the way he was living. And like a lot of people do live their lives this way. And the tie off, the drawback is like, you're never going to be able to actually find love. And like, that's a really sad thing. Like you're not actually winning as much as people might feel jealous of, or, you know, I don't know.
He didn't even know what love was. I feel like,
and like how sad of a thought is that? Like,
yeah,
it's
what you don't know. Can't
Yeah.
have it.
True. Wow.
Yeah, and he was like a combination of freaked out by that he was like feeling this that he didn't know what to do with, and then also not even knowing like mechanically how this
How
is
that's-
supposed to function.
Right.
Yeah.
And then even before the pancake scene, there's like a point where he started like things were happening where like you couldn't see stuff, or like the little things where he would just like talk about stuff, and then he like you see his face kind of like look up for a second, like, oh, like I'm kind of old, like you won't understand that, like, and he starts like connecting all of the things that like someone who's that much younger wouldn't understand, like what he's feeling and experiencing, and he like also portrays that in his facial expressions again. Like he doesn't say it out loud. He's just like, he'll just like look up and have that like weird face, like, yeah, like whatever. So I like how that like kind of started his like change to the new man that he became.
Yeah.
And it, like the awkwardness of the whole like sex scene was amazing. Like all of the references to things that like that they're connecting on,
Yeah.
based on being like older, like the not
Yeah,
being
yeah.
like, can you see this? No, here, use my reading glasses.
Yeah.
And you know, stuff like that was really, I thought it was really like funny and like well added in. And even he was just like he got it up. He was like, oh, but you couldn't take any Viagra, and he's like, yeah, well,
It worked anyway.
yeah.
I love that part. I had a new meaning of played doctor. Because she like had to do his blood pressure and all that right before like they had sex, which I
Yeah.
thought was hilarious. And then what did he call his penis? It was like Mr. Midnight. Mr. Midnight.
Yeah, it was Mr. Midnight.
It was like, oh my god, that was hilarious. It was just so good. And then like cutting the sweater off, like after like it's like you're wearing sweaters in the summer. I was like, what is this bitch doing wearing sweaters in the summer? He's absolutely right. And then he's
Yeah.
like, yep, now you have to cut your sweater off. See how that works? It's just, I don't know. It's really
Yeah. Yeah, that was I don't know that there's any other sex scenes like that in many movies we've covered so far. But yeah, it's so I think calling it weird is doing it a disservice. It's just such a unique scene. And they're both like the acting in it is so fucking good.
Right before that, he hits us with words have been invented to describe women like you.
That's a great
Like,
line.
holy shit, man. That was amazing. And then he
Yeah.
follows up with Flinty, which is like, oh yeah, that's exactly why Flinty was invented. Because there's no other reason for that word to have been invented. Like, I don't know. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that.
Yeah, the whole a lot of the language, especially it seems like Nancy Meyers had a great time writing the phrases that he's using, because he's this player who's been doing it for 40 plus years and he has like every move, but he's just like says some stuff that is like really insightful and some stuff that is just such bullshit. And she does a great job of making it sound the same.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like when he says, you're a woman to love. She walks out of the room just like, what the hell does that mean? And then that's when she names her play. It's very funny.
Oh, man.
It's like,
Full
Erica,
circle.
you're a woman to love.
It's funny because
Doesn't
that
mean
movie
anything.
doesn't like. I feel like nothing about that movie relates to me, like at all, outside of like the fact that I still haven't gotten married. Like I don't know, or you know,
You're basically 60. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I'm halfway there. But there were a couple of points where like I felt like real emotion from this
Oh, yeah.
completely unrelatable rom-com where I was like, oh. The number one part was like I put in my notes, the biggest awe moment was when he like came back to a room and said, I'd like to try sleeping with you.
Yeah.
It was his way of saying like,
Yeah.
I want to sleep with you. I don't know how this works. This is kind of weird, but like, I think I want to.
Yeah.
And that was just like, I was like, I felt that.
He's just so bad at it, but he wants,
He wants it.
he's starting to want, and there's just this cool kind of weird longing going on between them throughout the movie that is, it's just really unique, I think.
It's hard to do something that you don't know. Like he doesn't know
Yeah,
what
he
it
doesn't know
is.
what
He
it is.
doesn't understand anything that's going on. It's like he just went through puberty.
Yeah.
And he's trying to figure it all out.
It's interesting too, because you can see how deeply it affected him. Like he's never, even if say Diane's character had like rejected him at the end, like he was never going to go back to being that player. Like that trip he took walking around, like he's experienced love. Like why would he ever go back to any of those women? Like that's why it was such an easy conversation to have.
When he has a beard, he looks exactly like old Orson Welles, just putting that out there.
I kind of got that vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like almost exactly. It's very funny. Then he shaves it to go to Paris, which he does look more Parisian without it.
I
No,
like
that's
the beer.
fair, I guess.
I thought it was pretty nice.
It's a nice beer
He
to
did
only
clean
have
up
it for
well.
one scene. I don't know.
I know.
We've touched on it, but the chemistry between Jack and Diane is just so interesting.
Yes.
And you can tell both why these people would be initially repelled and then also why they would ultimately come to understand the other person
Exactly.
to such the extent that they do. And it's just really interesting. And they do that a lot.
I mean,
But
they're
there are a
both
lot of different
loners.
ways.
He's just having sex.
Right. Yeah. 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 And it's killing him. So maybe.
I remembered. It was about the time frames in this movie.
Okay.
So I don't know if they fully mentioned how long he was in the house for, like from the beginning to the end.
I don't know if they gave us an actual time.
Yeah,
frame.
it seemed like it was like longer than I think.
I was giving it a week, but it could have been like a month.
I think
that
it was-
just seems like a long
yeah.
time to be in a stranger's house for.
I think it's about a week. He initially says you have to stick around for a couple weeks, but then later when he goes to the hospital in New York, she's like, "Oh, I don't know what you were doing out this late a week after a heart attack or something like that."
He made a comment too, like about having sex a week after having a heart attack, and it's got to be some kind of medical record.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just
He's
I-
crying when he says that. That scene's amazing.
Yeah, I know the fact that he starts like crying, like as he's doing things.
be some kind of record.
But he
I think he changed what he was going to say. By the way, I don't think that's what he was actually thinking.
I think
It was
you're
probably,
correct.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
improv.
Yeah, he's censoring himself, and yeah,
like, I gotta
all of
be a
this like
dickhead.
different layered stuff is happening, and it's just through the performances. It's great. Sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. I thought it like felt like it was longer, not because like of the connection they had, but like he had to build himself up to walking upstairs and stuff like that. So I thought it was longer, but they did say like a week after a heart attack and stuff like that. But so they maybe they fell in love in that time, but it didn't really like she didn't give a lot of time between then and like when she was over it. Like the whole thing was 6 months. Like Jack Nicholson had a full beard, looked like he just traveled the world
Apparently, he did. He
in 6 months.
said he went to 12 different states to apologize to people.
and this was the furthest one.
And went to like a beach at some point.
Yeah. So
But-
he not even that he went on vacation, that he moved to the Caribbean and was there. He said 6 hours. Then this was a terrible
no, I'm not
idea.
gonna do
In that
this.
6 months, that daughter found a husband and was a couple months pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
She went from like, yeah, I don't know how that happened, but
I think that's a thing that adults do sometimes.
yeah.
They'll-
According to the movies, anyway.
They'll like get married within a few months of meeting someone.
Rachel's parents got engaged within 42 days of knowing each other.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Without like religious connotations is like, how do you do that?
no
But I don't know. I'm, a single man that's not married, so probably because I won't do it within
We're
a
all
few
like
months.
Jack, just like I don't know how to make it work.
I don't
I
understand.
know functionally the inputs that you have to enter to get this result.
Yeah, maybe we just need to all talk to Jack Nicholson or deeply analyze his approaches from this movie.
Yeah.
I could say.
I
going
wonder if
outside
that's
more
the
would
takeaway
definitely
that
help
Nancy
for me.
Meyers-
Yeah, it also doesn't help that I think this is the first person's house I've been to in like 3 weeks.
It's like I'm not exactly looking
That's
very
true.
hard. That's
I don't even go to the
important.
grocery store anymore. Everything gets delivered.
It might be a good thing that they don't make rom-coms anymore because I feel like the pandemic rom-coms would be insufferable.
Oh man,
Yeah,
it'd
it
be
would-
like swiped.
It would just be all screen
Right.
shares of,
Yeah.
of people on video.
Just Zoom dates.
man. Why is this page heart in your Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know someone that actually is now getting married to someone that they had like a Bumble. It started off as like Bumble video dates.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about here at the end. This whole month we're doing rom-coms, like I said. So interesting to think about like what makes a rom-com part of that genre. It's a whole genre, even though it's not like action, horror, sci-fi. Rom-coms. It can be pretty much anything. Any kind of people can be in a rom-com. But the interesting thing about this movie is the two main people who end up together have sex right around the hour into the movie. There's still an hour left.
Yeah.
And they're almost immediately after that, they separate and you have an hour of other stuff happening.
I thought it was about to end.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I was like, I said it was 2 hours, but maybe that's like credits and all that other junk.
you still have to have a play that written with a dancing line of butts.
Yeah, a lot of man butts.
A lot of ass.
As soon as they had like sex and that whole thing, I was like, I'm not sure where the conflict's going to come from because they already broke up the dog. You know what I mean? So it felt very forced. I think that was my complaint with the crying, and that is like the breakup felt very forced. The conflict felt a little too forced. But.
Well, that happens in all of these. That's one of the things so this wasn't quite as much friction for me as usual. So parts of a rom-com, like they don't like each other at the beginning, or they're just friends for some reason.
Then reason they can't. One of them's in a relationship.
Yeah, or they just plain don't like each other. But then they do. Then they get together. Then like it's about to be perfect, but then something at the 11th hour messes it up. Right? We did
something from the past.
Something from the past comes up. Or Wedding Singer. When we did Wedding Singer, it's like, there's just like a little bit of miscommunication.
Yep.
As each of them try to go to the other person's house and tell them how they feel, but something happens right before they get there that kind of messes it up. And that happens right at the end of the movie pretty much. And then the finale is this reconciliation and then they're together or whatever. And that's not really what happens in this movie. It kind of is, but it's stretched out into different proportions. That stuff usually takes up most of the movie. And then like the last 20 minutes, there's like a miscommunication. Like it's how it is in The Wedding Singer.
Yeah, because
this movie, right in the middle, is when they break apart.
In that middle break apart part, I feel like you could probably cut a lot of that out and not really lose a lot from the movie.
Yeah,
like as far as the plot goes, but
yeah. So it's just something that I want to keep an eye on this month, going through the other rom-coms. Like how much are they hewing to what just off the cuff we think about rom-com structure? And I think structurally this one's weird. It's sort of misshapen in a really interesting way that I appreciate.
It's definitely fresh and unique.
Oh yeah.
So my question is, what is your favorite or some of your favorite rom-coms?
My favorite just is The Proposal.
Ben?
No, nothing more to say. Just straight up stands on its own. Okay, so that's Sandy and Ryan Reynolds.
Sandra Bullock, Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's hilarious. I love that Betty White is in it. I think she really makes that movie. I like the structure of it. I like that she is the boss and he's the assistant. You know what I mean? It just does kind of flip that a little bit on its end. And I fucking love Ryan Reynolds. He's just amazing in so many ways. So
yeah, I think that's a good pick. I partial to one thing that's definitely sticking out is 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh yeah,
that's my favorite.
That's a good one.
That's a wonderful movie. So
that's why I one of the ones I was like, I will definitely do a podcast on this.
But yeah, those are good. I really love Four Weddings and a Funeral. I'm trying to specifically not mention ones that might come up. I like 2 Weeks Notice a lot too. It's another Sandy, but that one's with Hugh Grant.
I kind of like the Justin Timberlake movie too, The Friends with Benefits.
Oh yeah.
I don't even remember if it's good. I just remember I enjoyed it, but it might,
yeah.
The two main characters are played by people that I enjoy watching, I guess. But 10 Things I Hate About You is probably number one. I've seen that multiple times.
That's probably up there for me. We will do that eventually. That is in the works in a few months. Nice. We'll get to a theme month that works for.
There's also another one I really liked. But
do you have someone that hasn't seen that?
We'll find someone. Yeah. There's gotta be.
Hasn't seen what?
But that's gonna be hard. 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
A couple good.
I was kind of just hoping you didn't see it.
No, I love that one.
A couple good Drew Barrymore ones I like. Never Been Kissed. That's seen it. Was thinking about that one because of David Arquette and Scream. He's like the love interest in that one. And the other Drew Barrymore one I was thinking, Music and Lyrics. Speaking of Hugh Grant.
Seen that either.
That one's good. That one holds up. That one has like a kind of parody of music in it too, of like the music industry.
Oh, okay.
Hugh Grant plays this guy that was in a band that's basically Wham in the 80s, and they have like a very fun pop hit. And then he just becomes like a songwriter who just writes for like pop stars today.
Okay.
It's good stuff, man.
I might have seen. Is that one really old? Not really old, but
that one is 2000s.
Okay, might have seen. I know my mom fucking loves Hugh Grant, so I feel like I've seen a lot of stupid Hugh Grant things.
Oh, Princess Diaries is technically a rom-com, I guess.
That's the thing. If you just try and search, it'll just be like, this one's got a joke in it and someone kisses. So that's a rom-com.
Miss Congeniality I really like. We did an episode on that. Give that a shout out.
yeah.
It's a rom-com.
I've seen that.
Yeah, there's Sandy can be all over the list. That's a good question to end on. But is there anything
500
else
Days of Summer? That wasn't
That's
rom-com
another one
either.
that's kind of like a dramedy, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
And they don't end up together.
That seems like more one of those like wacky, zany things and like funny.
So quirky.
Yeah.
That's why
I've seen it a
Manic
couple
Pixie
times.
Dream Girl kind of thing.
it's fine. Your question was a good one to end on, so we'll probably cut out after that. So I'm excited for Romcom Month. I'm trying to get better about doing a couple things at the end of each episode. Would you guys, since it's all about seeing a movie that you haven't seen before, would you recommend this movie to someone who hasn't seen it before?
Yeah, I really liked it.
Like I said, I'm trying to get better about doing stuff.
Maybe
format
not
consistent stuff.
everyone's parents, apparently, because
Yeah, no,
Ben's parents
my
hate it?
sister and my mom
and his sister.
hate it.
No, you just wait till next time you're bringing a girl back and it's like, hey, you want to watch Something's Gotta Give and get bonus points for watching a rom-com
Yeah.
that you actually enjoy.
Let Mr. Midnight out of his cage.
Hell yeah.
Like a solid 4 hospital trips out of 5. I don't know if you guys have a rating. in mind.
I'd say probably about a 3.8 out of 5.
Yeah. I'd say I liked it a little bit less than The Wedding Singer. I'm just going to use that as my baseline now. So you guys get to. No, I'm just kidding.
I think you gave Waiting Singer like a 6.
I
right?
did overall.
6 out of 5?
Sorry. No,
6 out of 5.
That's
Six
that's
out of
you must
10,
have loved it.
See, out of 10 and out of 5 is such a different
it's
scale.
such a different scale. I know.
You can use any metric you want, as you know.
I'd probably give it. You said a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, 4 hospital
I
trips.
said
out of 5.
3.8.
3.8.
3.8 Mr. Midnights out of 5.
3.3. I've seen too many good goddamn
Now, is
movies
that
on this
a hospital
podcast.
trip or a Mr. Midnight scale?
That's a Mr. Midnight
Yeah,
scale.
of course it is.
I mean, that's not a bad
6.9
rating.
Mr. Midnights out of 10.
No, it's
It's above the like baseline. I'd say
yeah.
like 2.5 is like baseline of like what you
Yeah,
recommend.
of watchable.
that's
Right.
right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
2.5 is watchable, I would say.
Yeah.
Just kind of. I liked this a lot. I was surprised by how much I dug it. I mean, going into it, I like Diane Keaton, I like Jack, I like Keanu, I like Nancy Meyers movies. Cool. So you can reach us by email if you want, latetothemovies@gmail.com. It is 2 the number, not 2 spelled out. Also on Instagram, latetothemovies_podcast. Thanks as always to Robbie for managing that page. I don't want to, so I'm glad you do.
No worries.
And thank you guys so much for being on the podcast, Robbie and Cory.
Hell yeah.
Great time.
We'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.